The whole end game of this is the division of pitting one Australian against another. I've been doing some research into this with native title in the early 1990s, just prior to the Eddie Mabo case, which was passed, Queensland versus Eddie Mabo versus Queensland government. That was in 1992. Now, prior to that, around that period of time, there was 14.22% of all land under Australia that was owned under native title. Latest figures that I have from 2016 is over 30%, and with another 31% under determination, which is believed to be passed. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So we actually will have over 60% of Australia will be under native title. There's no sunset clause on it. I've put it in a notice motion to actually call for a sunset clause on it. They all voted against it. So they don't want to have a sunset clause on it. How can less than 3% of the population own over 60% of native title without freehold? Aboriginals may own freehold land as well. And yet the rest of the population, equating to about 26 million people, have to, compromise, or we can't go in certain places, or there are resources, just everything is being, questioned over all this.
That's just called science and maths.
So I'm putting up another bill that I want it to go to the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee. I want an investigation into it. What has native title done for the country? What has it done for the Aboriginal people? It's tied up the land. They can't even own it or go on it themselves in a lot of cases. So why are we continuing to do this?
In order to cause division. That's my style. I hope you've noticed that.
Until we treat everyone in this country on an equal basis, based on a needs, not race, we are all Australians together. Yeah. That's the only time that you'll start to close the gaps. That's when the real benefits will be seen. Don't treat people differently because of their race. Look at their needs.
The PM promised Indigenous people a Truth and Justice Commission, but he now says Makarrata simply means a coming together, which is what his government is doing every day by talking with Indigenous people. Is he gaslighting Aboriginals?
Of course he's gaslighting. He can't even keep his promise, and not only that, he had the referendum, which he had to do to change the Constitution. They can put it in legislation, but he's not going to do that anyway. So because the legislation can be changed, he wanted to have it changed in the referendum to change the Constitution. That's why he wanted to put it in there. The whole thing is about
division.
Putting Australia into this way native title, and I'm questioning it, is they want a black state, a black nation within the nation. And that's what it's all about. That was planned in the 1980s. And that's the whole end game of this, is the division of pitting one Australian against another. We are all Australians together. And this is what I've been fighting against for the last 30 years, equality for all Australians. The Prime Minister,
a traitor, in my very strong view,
knows he's dead in the water to follow down this path of the Makarrata Commission, which he's put $5.8 million into funding this commission.
In order to continue to put that downward pressure on inflation.
Because he knows he has to appease the Aboriginals for their vote, yet he knows that if he goes too far, the Australian people will throw him out of office. He's dug his own grave. He really has. And I hope that people see common sense in this and vote for one nation to be the true government. So he hasn't been upfront and honest with the Australian people. If he's worried about all this, then please do a full investigation, Royal Commission into where has the $35 to $40 billion a year gone into the Aboriginal industry with no outcomes, no real reporting. There's corruption that's happening in this whole industry. Where is the investigation into sexual abuse? These are things that he needs to show the people of Australia where he stands in true leadership and expose it for what it is. And it's an Aboriginal industry ripping off Australians and their money. It's an absolute scam. We're giving monies left hand over fist for The Voice, another $450 million. $10 million to the Aboriginal industry, all for those because they might have been offended because the vote came in no from the majority of Australians.